Keep the good times poppin', pop, pop, pop.
This is a recovery from Fright Nights, from Dragon Masters, and all of those fantastic gimmickful castles. In some ways, they don't learn from the historical successes of this theme. This being followed by Knights Kingdoms 1 and 2. But it's a breath of fresh air for accurate, beautiful, and really fun playsets with new factions and a whole new continent.
Without further ado, let's dive in.
Defensibility Check, Shubi no Cheku, 6093, Flying Ninja Fortress.
Accessibility. Much like Night Lord's Castle, we do have some inaccessible levels, partly because of the height of these towers.
The main tower here is very tall. We often saw them up to 4 or 5 levels. Some of the historical Japanese castles have these towers reach up to 7 levels.
Wow, that's a lot of levels.
It is.
This one goes up to a 5th level, but from levels 2 to 5, it's inaccessible. There is only a single ladder to the 2nd level.
Mm-hmm. And you can't really cross that gatehouse.
We have what you can call an armory. We have some katanas, as we'll see, sprinkled throughout this here castle.
There are 2 situations where the katana is stored with blade facing down so that the wooden scabbard does not blunt the blade. Very nice attention to detail there. However, there is another instance with a katana just stored in a barrel.
It is blade down in a bucket.
Very sad.
We have a jail cell. This has really proved to be a staple of fortresses and castles. It's fantastic. We have a studio, a place where you can read, and living quarters, complete with a bed and table.
This is the best example of living quarters we have seen in Classic Castle.
Up to this point, yes.
Now, a point on the armory, we have some musketry throughout this place. So we can see that we have moved out of the strictly Sengoku period to the short-lived Azuchi Momoyama period, where castles were made very defensively with many sama in mind. So that is arrow loops throughout the place, or gun loops, so that contrary to European castles, where the advent of gunpowder began to spell the end of castles, it launched a new period in Japan for complex, concentric castles, as the one we see here, which looks very much like the historical Himeji Castle, as well as Fushimi Castle.
Accessibility, -4. +5. Net, 1. Let's check out defensibility. The first time that we saw a kind of facade design would be with Magisto's Tower, where you basically only see the front and the sides of the fortress. It makes it difficult to approach castles like this, because how are we supposed to score a castle where most of it isn't there?
Do we simply suspend belief and try to pretend that there's a back of the castle? Well, no. We don't check what we wish was there. We want to check what's there.
We do have some poor tower placement.
Their coverage is pretty poor. You've got a lot of closed-off walls on the sides between the towers, so should a tower be taken, you can't really use the advantage of the other towers to keep it under heavy fire.
We have some massive outward windows or openings in the towers, and this castle would have been made out of flammable materials. That is, wood. But a plaster was used which made the wood
remarkably fire
flame
retardant. Yep. Following the designs of actual Japanese castles, historical castles, we see the addition of Moshigeishi, which were something roughly around 45-degree stone slopes coming out from the castle to keep folks away from the castle and allow you to fire upon them from your yasama and your sama for your arrows and muskets.
The walls are of a pretty good height. We don't exactly have crenelles and merlons, but they are at least 3 bricks high.
And then they've got those little doorways for the apertures, which are a very welcome addition.
Defensibility, -4. +3. Net, -1. Let's check out offensibility.
As we had mentioned, there are the Japanese equivalent of machicolations all over the place. There are both sama and yasama all over this castle. Lots of well-placed machicolations, possibility of murder holes, and there are some traps. There's a trap door, and there is a ridiculous swinging halberd trap should somebody make it through those front doors that you can release.
Offensibility, -0, +4. Net, 4. As of right now, our initial total is 4. Let's take a look at those auxiliary graces.
Factions during Ninja were a little bit unclear, but we're pretty sure that there is an adequate garrison here. It seems as if that Ninja in Black and the Robber are the bad guys that are supplied for us, whereas the Gray Ninja and these soldiers of the Blue Shogun all make up the garrison for this castle. And per the name, there is a flying machine. We have a flying ninja for the Flying Ninja Fortress.
Final total, 6. The Flying Ninja Fortress passes.
And it does pretty well. I'd like to point out some really fun things historically about this castle. We've got indication on the box art of the Jokomachi. That would be the city that would grow up around the Tenchukaku, that is the castle. And we've also got a skeleton in there. There's a skeleton chamber, which in this could either be the display of the body of a slain robber, or it could be indicative of the use of that chamber. Sometimes there would actually be chambers in the castle set aside for ritual suicide, for seppuku. So that could be another historical thing that they've added in here on this castle.
Could this be the most disturbing Lego set ever?
It sure could be. Could be.
So could Night Lord's Castle.
Probably. It's certainly not Knight's Procession. A brief disclaimer. We like historical Japan. We do not like anime. We are not weebs. Just
throwing that out there.
Just very clear here. You want to Takeo Miyazaki? Sure. But not weebs. It's kind of gross.